gosh. Oh my gosh. We are so excited today to welcome Sam Vandervalk. He is the founder of ARC Trips. My gosh, I cannot wait to dive in and hear all about this, because this to me is brilliant idea. So this is a mastermind retreat experience for high achieving entrepreneurs and leaders seeking purpose beyond success, which I really like. I think we're moving as leaders to that, and that is just so exciting. So after he built one of British Columbia's top sport fishing businesses and had attended some masterminds, he realized that financial success alone was not enough, right? True fulfillment comes from kind of aligning that achievement with deeper meaning. And this inspired him to create immersive, love that because we do the same, adventure-based retreats where leaders step away from the daily grind, they engage in transformative conversations, and they build powerful connections in breathtaking natural settings.
That's good words.
Welcome to our show, Sam.
Yes, yay. Sam, you made it.
Yes. So thank you very much for everyone that's out there. I come from Vancouver Island, which is the west part of British Columbia, Canada. So most people that I encounter aren't great at geography. So I will let you know exactly where that is. And then also that Vancouver Island is not part of Vancouver. It's a completely different place on the map. You have to take a ferry, like a 2-hour ferry, or else about a half an hour flight to get there, depending on where you're going on the island. The island is about 3/4 the size of Switzerland, so quite large. It is very mountainous. And so it has some of the best hiking. And why I live there still currently is it has some of the best king salmon fishing, or Canadians call them Chinook salmon, on the ocean. And so it is just an incredible place to be. We have some of the best kayaking, some of the best surfing actually in Canada. And then, of course, the nature and hiking there is amazing. So
that's good. That's a very good commercial for Vancouver
Meanwhile,
Island.
I know exactly where it is because we've watched all the episodes of Alone, and they used to have that there. And Bruce and I are obsessed with that show. So I know where it is geographically, and I appreciate that you care enough to help other people know where it is.
I know what a trot line is, and we can catch some Chinook on that.
I cannot make a trot line though, so there's that. Also, let's be really clear. You did say surfing. We both scuba dive. I'm thinking, is a 10 mil suit what you need to wear when you're surfing up there? What's happening?
No, 10 mil. Wow. You guys really would be thick. Do those even exist? I don't think they do.
No.
I'm pretty sure it's the Michelin Man. You just look like the Michelin Man.
I'm teasing.
10 mil suit would be like Antarctica or something like that. And you want to stay good there for 24 hours in the water.
That's great. Well, Sam, give us a little bit of your background. We'd love to hear more about kind of the mastermind experience and how you got
to where you are now.
Plugged in there, and let's hear it.
Yes. So in order to get to the masterminds, I had to go on a journey of solving problems. And
I love it.
So I started university when I was 24, way back in the year 2001. And I was planning to be a financial planner. The first summer back from university, I had this crazy idea of becoming a sport fishing guide. And I decided that I would have a boat at the end of my university, plus be able to pay for tuition and books. It's really the craziest idea because nobody at that time would ever decide to start a sport fishing business to do anything other than, supplement their fishing habit. They didn't actually do sport fishing businesses to make money.
Yeah.
There was very few fishing charters that had more than just one boat. So people would do it like as a summer job, but not something that you actually planned on doing as a business. Mm-hmm. And there was maybe a handful or less of larger operations that were just fishing charters. And in order to get beyond that, you had to go to a fishing lodge where there was a huge investment in capital, and then you'd have to have a large staff. So I decided to do a sport fishing business, which I intended at first to just be me. But as I kept working, and marketing, things exploded. So I'll tell you sort of how it happened. The first summer back is when I started my business. I had a neighbor who said, "You have to get online, and you absolutely must become visible." And I didn't even know really at that time what that was about. But in 2002, when I started the business, and when people were in university, when all my fellow students and friends were going out to party, I was slogging away trying to figure out how to get number one on Google, and figuring out like Google was the best search engine then, because as you guys may remember, there was lots of search engines back then, but Google sort of ended up becoming the clear favorite. And so the first full summer that I had, I ended up having like a full boat like for the summer. And then by the end of university, my business grew so much that I hired two of my older brothers, one who I'd guided with at lodges, and the people that would come would comment on how young I was and that I sounded a lot older on the phone.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, you do. You sound, I mean, you've got that deeper voice.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I've had to fight the opposite. I mean, I sounded a lot younger for many years. And I think finally now, I think I sound my age.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you go down to the lower.
Because I try to be a little bit more credible with my low voice.
I mean, that's incredible though, to think of it. I mean, you're looking at a young person who is willing to take a huge leap and start a business. Did that seem foreign to you, or did that seem just
super
natural?
Entrepreneurial.
Like, okay, well, this is just what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that in some ways, by nature, I'm more of a risk taker. So, to me, I didn't really think that it was that much of a jump. And I think that I was also working with my dad in roofing, and so I had that as a fallback, I guess. And so I don't know, I think I attack everything like, oh, this seems like a good idea, I'm going to go do that. And then I kind of explore, what it takes to get there. And most things have worked out. Not everything has worked out, but most things have worked out. And I think also that once I set my mind on something, I just sort of go there. So I think that I like solving problems. And that's sort of been the journey that's, brought me to the Mastermind. So I'll jump to the next big problem that I had to solve when I was, something else I didn't mention was that I had such good success in the search engines that I ended up becoming number one in Google for just about every keyword you can imagine. So
heck yeah, you did. That's awesome. Wow. That's amazing.
So that was not the easiest thing to do. There was SEO companies at the time that would try and get you there, and nobody would get like, more than just a couple or three keywords, and they were extremely expensive, to get you there. So I ended up getting, keywords like salmon fishing. And as you know now, like Google has it so that if you type in salmon fishing, you're not going to get the localized search results. But Google actually deleted me entirely from the search engine for the keyword salmon fishing if the search came from the US. And I don't know if I was one of the people that, sort of helped trigger them to, make the more localized searches. But anyways, that was because I was in Canada. Then they, said, okay, well, we don't have anything in our search engine that will, make this guy go lower in the search results. So they just deleted me entirely for that keyword.
Wow. That's so interesting.
And so that was a bit of an eye opener, and I worked long and hard to try and figure out how to get back to that. But unfortunately, when Google decides something, there's not much you can do about it.
It's the 80-pound gorilla, right?
Yeah, like, pretty much.
800 pound.
It's 800-pound gorilla. That's right. So, but the success in figuring out the keywords led me to do some limited SEO for other adventure businesses. And it's also what later became the motivation to start a marketing business in 2022, which I'm not going to talk too much about, but I love marketing. So around 2008, I started, I wanted to be able to communicate even better. Like, so I had communicated obviously where we were, what we did, showed lots of photos, but I wanted to be able to give more of some type of guarantee. And so I ended up doing a 50 pounds a day guarantee on all our 3-day silver to signature packages where people would come and stay with us. We do a nice seafood dinner. And then they had a guarantee that they would go home with at least 150 pounds of fish. Wow. And so it's still the only guarantee of this kind on the coast.
Wow.
That's incredible.
And did you ever not fulfill that guarantee?
That is a very good question. So I think there's been about 3 or 4 instances since 2008 where we were a little bit short. And with my guarantee, what we do is we just give you some additional vacuum packed salmon and halibut just to make up. And so we've got a formula so that we figure out what percentage of the fish is filleted and all that, so that you get your actual, guaranteed amount of fish. But our area is extremely productive. It's also one of the hardest areas to fish as a new guide coming in. So it does take a lot of, skill and knowledge to get there. That's part of my guarantee. That's part of my guarantee.
Why is it so hard to fish? What makes it so difficult?
What are the challenges?
Sure. So we have probably the largest area north and south of us for area to actually catch salmon. So I could go out and not fish at the same area for every day of the summer.
Wow. That's incredible.
And each area can be a little bit different as far as, parts of the area that produce more, or else what works in that particular area. There's things that work in all areas. Like if you use anchovies, for example, then that works in all areas, but then I can get gear to, way outfish the anchovies even. So it really does depend a lot on the knowledge and experience. And that's something that, if we have a new guide to come in who's guided somewhere else, we don't hire guides that haven't guided somewhere else. But if we do have a new guide that comes in, it takes a lot to, bring them up to speed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
So yeah, that's just a huge challenge. And, but it's also something that I enjoy, being able to deliver. Mm-hmm. And I guess it's something that the other guides in the area don't like that I do. But I don't really care what the other guys do.
That's the advantage.
I kind of just do what my customers like.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Amazing how that works.
Earlier you were talking about when you started your business, you were just like, I'm just going to do it. I'm kind of a risk taker. And it's so true. I think I read an article fairly recently about entrepreneurial mindset is one in which they are more comfortable taking risks. They are more comfortable in uncertainty, and they're absolutely working on their mindset all of the time. So, so kind of an interesting segue from this business that you had, and how did you get from there into mastermind groups?
Well, so I've got a little more of the story to tell. So I still had another problem to solve. So I started having these packages that I would have accommodation and fishing. And also we'd do a seafood dinner plus vacuum packing and freezing. So I had all these places that I had to book for my guests. And I had, at that point, I think I was around 6 boats. And so it's a lot of accommodation to fill. So around 2012, I started Vancouver Island Vacation Rentals, managing accommodation that was overlooking the ocean. And then in 2019, I bought a property with cabins, and now I just manage my cabins. But this whole time, because of all this business, I had a large problem that just never got solved, and that was creating a system that would be able to book and manage all these, all of my customers. And so, you know, like you have the newsletters you have to send out, you have, you know, photos you want to put out on social media, just, you know, managing everything, making videos, because I do a video at the end of the year for highlights, all that kind of stuff. And then all the admin to like send people out their trip information and all that stuff is something like I never had an actual system. I looked at all the top systems, and in the December of 2024, so not long ago, I was introduced to a brilliant software engineer. And so we talked about building an adventure booking platform. And in January of this year, we started down that road of building an adventure booking platform that also managed all of our businesses. And so now we've got a team of people building this platform for us. And it's going to be one of the coolest booking platforms that's available right now. Like, we're hoping by July, it'll be the most advanced AI planner. So you won't even need to just book like what we manage, because we're planning to add a lot of accommodation and vacation rentals, but it will also manage or also help people that are planners. You know, if you're an actual planner and need to plan trips, you'll be able to plan flights, find the best flights, and you'll be able to do it with AI. So instead of typing your search in, like your flights and your hotel and all that kind of stuff, you'll just be able to say into it, I would like to go here, and it'll come up with a bunch of options, and you just click on the options that it comes up with, and then it'll say like, here's a whole bunch more options, and it'll be the fastest planner that's out there. And we figure that we're probably going to be 6 to 8 months ahead of all the other planners. Wow. Because we're developing the system that's based on not the old systems where you just had to enter in your data, but it's based on a system that can use AI.
Yeah. Are you planning, is the goal, I mean, side note, Sam, is the goal then to put it in position to be purchased by an Expedia or one of these other large technology companies?
I'm not an advocate of people selling their companies for exits. So you probably get lots of people on that say, oh, you've got to do this for your company so that you can exit. Especially the way the world's going now, where the largest corporations sort of profit off of all the entrepreneurs that did the hardest part of their business in getting the engine actually going. Yep. And then you have people like Warren Buffett and so many others that just buy businesses. I'm like, why do you allow someone to just go and use all that or use their capital to buy your business when really you've got the engine that drives the income, and then they now have all the power to essentially influence the world. So why don't you figure out how to keep your business? And I don't know if you guys follow Dan Martell, but he does a pretty good job of showing people how to buy back their time and get over the hurdles. And that's something that I do too. Obviously, I've read a lot of his content, and but essentially buy back your time so that you can not spend as much time in the trenches in your business.
Yeah,
and so
that's definitely that 10x method.
That's one of the things I do in the masterminds, and the masterminds are really designed to help people that have a large purpose in their business. So we help people that are purpose driven solve really big issues, and I wanted to focus on people that have a mission that's or a purpose that's large enough that if they passed away, they would want someone else to carry it on. Which I don't know if many people think about that, and I actually didn't think about that for a long time. It took me actually starting this Arc Trips adventure booking platform, which now has just turned into a booking platform where we have all the incentives so that hosts and guests are incentivized to put the other person's interest, at a higher level, because they want to maintain their status. And so I'd had a lot of not so great experiences on booking platforms where things weren't as you expected. Like if you book, when you check in, you just find out like, hey, you guys advertise this, but this isn't here. Or else, like if you come in for a month-long stay as a person who works and travels, you find out, oh, maybe the Wi-Fi is not that fast, or you find out that they don't have enough sheets and towels, and just lots of little things. Like I like to cook and make my own food. Well, they wouldn't have cooking utensils needed, so you'd have to like put in all these requests. And I'm like, what if I just created a system so that this was all taken care of for the guest? And it's not that difficult for the host to get those in advance. It's just that they need someone to prompt them to do it. And so I just wanted to make a system that would motivate the host as well as the guest to act in the best interest of the other person.
Well, that's great. So, I love the arc, Sam, from this young entrepreneur leading, some sport guiding, right? Getting out there and going fishing, and moving on to establishing your business kind of on a broader set for thinking about how do we get leaders in here and how do we do that, to now a technology entrepreneur, which is really fundamentally what you've evolved to as you've gone through that. We're curious to know, as we kind of wrap up our conversation, Sam, as we kind of get to the end, it's our question that we ask every one of the leaders that we have when we have people come on, and that is, what's the best advice that you've ever been given, and why was that advice given to you? We love to know the story as to what happened and why you got that advice.
Sure. So the best advice that I've ever gotten, or the thing that made me, was the catalyst for me really changing, was actually watching my brother grow as an entrepreneur. And he was challenged that if he didn't grow as a person, his business wouldn't grow. So essentially, your ceiling is as far as you can lead a team. And so that was his challenge to me, was make sure that you're actually growing much faster at this point because of where you want to go. And so if you stay in that spot and don't grow, you aren't going to get there. It's actually impossible. And so that's the largest, or like the piece of advice that I would say that every entrepreneur has to face at some point. If you're happy where you're at, okay. But if you really want to grow and get to a place in your business where you're not doing all the nitty gritty, where you're not doing everything else, but you're also growing, and you're in that more fun zone where you're actually creating now, then you have to grow as a person.
I love that.
That's great.
I love the concept too, that, because there is a population of leaders that really think, well, I've arrived and I know everything I need to know. And they're just sitting in certainty, as opposed to, like you said, focused on how can I grow as a leader, and how can I expand, and how can I then do that so that my team can come along with me. And I love that. Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Well, Sam Vandervalk, it has been an absolute pleasure to chat with you. We exchanged a little bit about the fact that he's Dutch, Montgomery, and some of my background with Van Horn. I'm Dutch as well, so I can certainly relate to those Dutch roots.
Okay.
That's an important piece. So, Sam, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, I might add that it's known that the Dutch people are the hardest working people in the world. So good on you.
Oh my gosh.
See,
all right. Well, I'm Norwegian, so I'm sure we're tough stock too.
I've got a Norwegian cousin, so I can sympathize with you.
Yes, oh my gosh, sympathize.
You feel my pain.
I will say I'm a Norwegian who does not eat the lutefisk.
No.
So there's that. I do eat the left side, not the lutefisk.
Yeah, so
right. You've been an absolute joy, Sam. I love the zest that you have for life and adventure and leadership and all of those things kind of coming together. And we wish you great success in
Good
the
luck
future.
with the platform. That sounds like an amazing tool. So looking forward to trying it out ourselves.
Thank you very much. It's been very, very great being here.